0517 local time. The forward radar console refreshes without warning. One contact becomes 2, then 4, then 8. On the bridge, no one speaks at first. Ahead of the ship, the ocean looks calm, flat, steel gray, and completely empty to the naked eye. But on the screens, the picture changes fast. 8 surface contacts, line abreast, staggered bearings, speed increasing. Condition 3. The order comes calmly. No explanation is needed. Watertight doors cycle shut. The ship's posture changes quietly with nothing louder than the shift of steel beneath boots. It is routine until the numbers say it is not. The ship holds course. Radar tracks tighten. Closest point of approach calculations update every few seconds, and each refresh moves the figures in the wrong direction. These 8 contacts are not random traffic. They are forming an approach. Electronic support measures begin logging emissions. Short bursts, controlled power. Careful timing. Someone out there is watching for a reaction. Contacts closing. Multiple bearings. No raised voices. No sudden movement. On a U.S. Navy bridge, urgency does not look like panic. It looks like precision. Hands move, eyes stay forward. The ship does not turn. On the surface plot, wakes begin to appear like chalk lines drawn across dark water. 8 parallel scars, cutting through the sea, slowly converging. Their speed settles in the high 20s. Their spacing is disciplined, clean, deliberate. Identification resolves one contact at a time. Russian Navy. The name is logged. Nothing else changes. Distance drops below 10 nautical miles. The space between the hulls shrinks with every passing minute. The wind over the bow carries no engine sound, but the presence is there, faint and steady, felt through the deck plates. A junior watchstander calls out a bearing. Another confirms it. Track numbers stack neatly on the display. No clutter, no confusion, no easy explanation. The ship maintains speed. Long-range optics swing outward, locking onto shapes that are still barely more than geometry. Dark silhouettes against a brighter horizon, low hulls, compact superstructures. No flags visible at this distance. Bridge-to-bridge radio calls go out. Textbook wording, international cadence. No answer. Only silence returns. The 8 contacts adjust spacing. One moves slightly ahead, testing the angle. Another falls back, holding depth inside the formation. It is no longer a simple line. It is a box. Pressure from more than one direction at once. The captain watches the plot, then the horizon, then the plot again. His voice never rises. It does not have to. The ship's systems are already moving ahead of the moment. A defensive mount rotates a few degrees. Not enough to escalate, just enough to be noticed. Behind the ship, the wake remains perfectly straight. Electronic signatures flicker again. Brief, controlled, logged, timestamped, and stored. Every signal matters, every choice is recorded. Distance to closest approach falls below 5 nautical miles. On deck, sailors are already in position. No running, no shouting, helmets are checked, lines are secured. To anyone watching from far away, it might look like any other watch. That is the point. The ocean stays calm. The sky offers no drama. Everything important is happening through numbers, angles, timing, and intent. One of the contacts increases speed by 2 knots. Another mirrors the move. The formation breathes, tightens, then steadies. This is not confusion. This is coordination. 8 surface contacts. Formation holding. The call is short, controlled, final. The ship does not deviate. At 4 nautical miles, geometry matters more than distance. Angles decide what happens next. A single degree of turn would change the entire picture. The captain knows it. So do the officers watching from the other bridges. No one moves too soon. On the plot, 8 wakes are now fully formed, bright lines against the darker sea. 8 arrows pointed inward. The box is almost closed. The radio remains quiet. The ship holds its line, its speed, and its discipline. This is the moment before anything gives way. Intent is visible, but the next move is still unwritten. Steel, training, and restraint all lean forward at the same time. No sirens, no sudden escalation, just 8 ships, 1 ship, and a shrinking stretch of ocean between them. The sea does not care. The numbers keep counting down. 0524 local time. The formation tightens. On the surface plot, the 8 contacts begin to curve inward. They are no longer moving parallel, no longer passive. Each ship takes a slightly different vector, with measured spacing and deliberate angles. This is not pursuit, it is containment. Closest point of approach recalculating. The numbers refresh again. 2 contacts drop below 3 nautical miles. Another slides to port, changing bearing just enough to make the picture more difficult. The box is forming. The ship stays steady. Bridge-to-bridge calls go out again. Same words, same cadence, international protocol. Nothing added, nothing emotional. The radio answers with static and silence. And that silence matters. On the bridge, the officer of the deck follows the lead contact with a fingertip on the glass. The movement is slow and controlled. He does not need to look back at the captain. The posture has already been set. Electronic support measures pick up another burst. Low power, directional. Someone is testing range without fully committing. The signal is logged, filtered, time-stamped, and then it vanishes as quickly as it appeared. No reaction. On deck, sailors shift their weight, adjusting with the movement of the swell. The ocean remains calm, but the wakes ahead are growing brighter and heavier. 8 ships are pushing through the water hard enough to carve long marks into the surface. One contact edges closer than the rest. Not the nearest yet, but the most assertive. Its bearing drifts a fraction of a degree toward the ship's bow. Contact adjusting course. The call is acknowledged. No commentary follows. The ship maintains speed. Long-range cameras resolve more detail now. Angular superstructures, dark hulls, mounted systems outlined against the horizon. Still no flags. Still no lights. Only steel and intent. The spacing compresses. 2 ships align on the starboard quarter. Another pair holds wide to port. The remaining 4 keep pressure straight ahead. The geometry is clean. Someone planned this. At 2 nautical miles, reaction time shrinks to minutes. Out here, decisions can become irreversible very quickly. A turn now could be read as concession or provocation, depending on the angle. The helm stays centered. A quiet order moves through the ship. Stations are checked again. Doors secured. Lines confirmed. Nothing dramatic. Nothing for the outside world to see. The box tightens another notch. One of the contacts surges briefly, then settles back into formation, as if testing the limit. Another mirrors the movement on the opposite side. The timing is too clean to be accidental. The radio remains quiet. On the bridge, the captain finally speaks. 1 sentence. Measured. Hold the line. The words are almost unnecessary. Everyone already is. Electronic sensors catch a faint sweep. Search radar. Low dwell time. Careful. Controlled. Not a full lock, but close enough to be intentional. Logged. The ship's posture does not change. At 1.5 nautical miles, perspective shifts. Shapes that were only geometry become mass. You can feel their presence even without sound. 8 separate pressure fields push water toward the same center. The ocean feels smaller now. A defensive mount adjusts again, barely perceptible. Just enough to follow the movement. It is not pointed with intent. It is aligned. There is a difference. On the forward deck, sailors glance up, then return to their tasks. No one stares. Staring wastes time. The formation breathes outward for a moment, then tightens again. The pressure box is complete now. 8 ships holding their angles. Speed matched, distance controlled. This is the test. Who changes course first? Who reacts first? Who breaks the geometry? The ship does none of it. Another hail goes out. Procedural, recorded, clear. No response. The closest contact crosses inside 2 nautical miles, then steadies. Its wake flares white behind it. The angle stops changing. For 5 long seconds, nothing moves except the sea. Then the lead contact hesitates by the smallest margin. Speed drops by a single knot. Almost invisible, almost easy to deny. The box still holds, but the tension has shifted. Everyone on the bridge sees it. No one says it. The ship keeps its course, moving straight through the center of the pressure. This is not about strength. It is about who controls the space without ever touching it. The box has not opened yet, but it is no longer tightening. 0531 local time. The ship does not accelerate, it does not turn, it does not answer pressure with more pressure. That choice becomes visible immediately. On the surface plot, the 8 contacts adjust again, each one compensating for a reaction that never came. The geometry they built depends on response. Without one, their angles begin to lose meaning. Electronic support measures light up briefly. Another probe, narrow beam, short duration. A quiet question, waiting for a loud answer. No answer comes. Every signal is captured. Direction, power, frequency, logged without comment. This is not theater. This is documentation. On the bridge, the captain keeps his eyes on the horizon. His hands never touch the console. He lets the ship do what it was trained to do. Hold. Below decks, the Combat Information Center moves at a controlled rhythm. Track numbers remain stable. Bearings update cleanly. No spikes, no confusion. Only data flowing into order. Contact behavior unchanged. The report is factual, nothing more. A decision moves through the ship without needing to be spoken aloud. The next step is presence, not confrontation. The helicopter crew is already strapped in. The flight deck comes alive with quiet precision. Chocks are pulled. Rotors begin to turn. The blades cut through the air with a sound that carries farther than any radio call. The aircraft lifts cleanly, nose low, accelerating above the water. It does not rush. From the surface contacts, the helicopter is impossible to ignore. It is not pressing closer. It is not pulling away. It is simply there, extending the ship's awareness beyond the horizon line. The aircraft holds a steady altitude, running parallel to the formation. Sensors are already active. Optical systems settle on hulls, decks, and superstructures. Faces become shapes. Movements become records. Nothing is missed. A green signal flashes once. Steady, clear, unmistakable. It marks the nearest ship's bridge line for a single moment. Not a warning. A message. We see you. A broadcast follows. Calm, standard, recorded. No answer returns. The helicopter keeps its distance, matching speed and circling wide enough to remain safe, but close enough to be impossible to ignore. Every second makes the picture clearer. Every frame becomes part of the record. Below, the 8 ships still hold formation, but it is not as tight as before. Small corrections ripple through the line, tiny adjustments, uneven timing, less confidence than a few minutes earlier. The pressure begins to shift. One contact drifts half a degree from its previous heading. Another corrects late. The symmetry that once defined the box starts to fray. On the bridge, no one says it out loud. The ship continues straight through the center of the space they tried to control. Electronic sensors catch another emission, slightly stronger this time, still measured, still careful, still probing, logged. The helicopter swings to the opposite side of the formation, keeping its orbit smooth and controlled. The green signal flashes again for a moment, then disappears. The message has already been delivered. This is not escalation. This is documentation. At 1.8 nautical miles, the nearest contact eases back on speed. Its wake shortens. The change is subtle, but the water gives it away. Speed reduction. 1 knot, another contact follows, then another. Not synchronized, not announced. The box begins to loosen. On the radio, there is still silence, but the silence feels different now. Silence can be confident. It can also be uncertain. This one leans toward the second. The helicopter holds position for another full circuit, then climbs slightly and widens its orbit. It never crosses the bows. It never forces anyone to maneuver. It does not need to. The ship never changes speed. This is what trained restraint looks like. No alarms, no sharp warnings, no sudden moves, just steady posture, forcing the other side to choose between holding risk and reconsidering it. At 0540, the surface plot tells the story before anyone speaks it. The 8 contacts are no longer converging. Their bearings drift outward by fractions of a degree. Small numbers, big meaning. The pressure box has not broken completely, but it has cracked. The helicopter turns back toward the ship, still recording, still watching, still calm. The deck crew is ready before it arrives. Every movement is rehearsed as the aircraft returns. The ship's profile remains unchanged. Course steady, speed constant, wake straight. No one celebrates, there is nothing to celebrate. This was never about winning a moment. It was about proving that noise does not move steel. Discipline does. And out on the water, 8 ships are beginning to understand that. 0546 local time. The first real change is almost invisible. On the surface plot, one contact's speed drops by a single knot. No announcement, no radio call, just a number changing where it was not supposed to. A moment later, another contact mirrors it. Not in sync, not coordinated, reaction, not command. The ship keeps its line. 8 hulls are still there, still close, still present. But the geometry that defined them is coming apart. Bearings widen by tenths of a degree. Spacing stretches. The pressure that once pushed inward now begins to leak out through the sides. The ocean notices before the bridge does. Wakes shorten. The white trails behind 2 ships soften from hard lines into fading curves. Water tells the truth early. Speed reduction observed. The report is logged. No commentary follows. The helicopter remains overhead. A wide orbit now. Sensors steady. It does not chase the change. It simply allows the moment to unfold. Its presence is constant, not demanding. Enough to remind, not enough to provoke. Another contact eases back, then a fourth. The box opens. This is still the moment where things can go wrong. A sudden turn, a late correction, a misunderstood intention. Any one of them could close distance faster than anyone would want. The bridge knows it. So does every other bridge within 2 nautical miles. The ship does nothing different. A radio transmission finally breaks the quiet. Short, formal, non-committal. The words are procedural, the tone careful. No accusation, no demand, only a statement of presence. It is acknowledged by the recorder and nothing else. On the plot, the lead contact's bearing drifts outward by another degree. It is small, but now it is impossible to ignore. The line abreast is gone. What remains is a loose arc. No longer centered, no longer closing. The ship passes through the space that used to be controlled. On deck, sailors continue their tasks without looking up. Lines remain tight, hatches stay secured. This is how control looks when it has been practiced. Nothing changes because nothing needs to. Electronic sensors go quiet. No more probes, no more questions asked in whispers. Whatever answers were being sought have already been given. At 2.5 nautical miles, the nearest contact turns a few degrees away from the ship's track. It is not a retreat. It is a concession without words. Another ship follows, then another, each one choosing separation over compression. The formation does not come apart all at once. It unwinds ship by ship, almost as if none of them wants to be the first to leave. The helicopter climbs slightly and moves farther out, keeping all 8 contacts in view. The camera continues to roll. Timestamps keep clicking forward. Nothing is missed. The ship's wake remains straight. At 0553, the surface plot tells a completely different story than it did 20 minutes earlier. The 8 contacts are no longer closing. Their vectors spread outward into open water. Distance increases by tenths of a mile, then by full miles. The pressure box is gone. What replaces it is space. No signal marks the transition. No command declares it. It simply happens when one side refuses to be moved. The ship continues on its original course, cutting through the last of the disturbed water. Behind it, the ocean smooths itself out quickly, as if the tension had never existed at all. On the bridge, the captain gives one small nod. Not a signal, an acknowledgement. The helicopter turns inbound. The recovery pattern is already established. The deck crew is ready before the aircraft touches down. It settles onto the deck, rotors slowing, sensors still powered until the final second. Everything is logged, every bearing change, every speed reduction, every moment of hesitation. No one speaks about victory. There is not one, only completion. Out on the horizon, the 8 ships continue to separate. Their wakes thin, their angles widen, they remain visible, still present, but no longer shaping the space. The ship does not watch them go. It does not need to. It holds its speed, it holds its course, it holds the line. It never left. The turn has already happened, and it did not come from the ship that stayed steady. 0612 local time. The ocean closes behind the ship. The wakes fade first. Then the disturbed surface begins to settle. The broken water smooths itself back into steel gray calm. From the bridge, the horizon looks almost unchanged, as if nothing had crossed it at all. But inside the ship, everything has been captured. In the Combat Information Center, tracks are archived, bearings are finalized, speed changes are mapped against time. Every brief signal has its own timestamp, direction, and signature. There is no rush. Precise work never needs to hurry. The ship remains at Condition 3 for a few minutes longer, not because the situation demands it, but because transitions matter. Procedures unwind in the same order they were tightened. One station at a time, one system at a time. Watertight doors cycle open, helmets come off, gloves are stowed. No one congratulates anyone. This was not a performance, it was execution. On the bridge, the officer of the deck reviews the log. The captain stands beside him, eyes moving between the screen and the sea. He does not focus on the contacts now drifting miles away. They are already becoming background. What matters now is the record. The helicopter footage is reviewed briefly. Angles are clear. Distances are confirmed. No unsafe maneuvers are shown. The green signals are visible, controlled, and unmistakable. The aircraft never crossed a boundary it had no right to cross. That matters later. Below decks, sailors return to the rhythm of the watch. Coffee is poured, checklists are completed. The ship slips back into the quiet efficiency that fills the hours between moments like this. Outside, the 8 ships are still visible, but farther away now. Their formation is gone. They are individual hulls again, each with its own wake, its own vector, and its own decision to make. They do not follow. The ship continues on its original heading. Speed unchanged. There is no course correction to mark the end of the encounter. No ceremony, no final statement, no dramatic punctuation, only continuation. This is how moments like this end. Not with sound, but with absence. No alarms, no broadcasts, just the quiet certainty that space was defined and held. In the log, the encounter fills several pages. Time, distance, behavior, every entry factual, no adjectives, no interpretation. That comes later, if it comes at all. For now, the ship moves on. The ocean does not remember pressure, it remembers passage. Behind the ship, the surface is already becoming indistinguishable from the water ahead. From a distance, no one would know that 8 naval vessels once tried to shape this piece of sea. That is the point. Professional restraint does not announce itself. It leaves no debris, no scars, only data and outcomes. Somewhere beyond the horizon, the 8 ships turn onto separate headings, their task unfinished, their question answered without words. They tested a boundary. The boundary did not move. On board, the watch changes. New eyes take the same stations. The instruments show the same calm sea they always do. To anyone stepping onto the bridge now, it is just another morning, and that is the final measure of success. Not dominance, not spectacle, continuity. The ship holds speed, the ship holds course, the ship holds nothing else. The wake disappears completely. Ahead, open water.